why can't you just use your big girl words? Why couldn't you have just communicated? And then the anger from not protecting my boundaries then spills into all of the things I've done wrong.
What are you angry about? Like, why has this got you so riled up? And then really start to uncover and peel back the layers of the onion and figure out what's going on.
So I think it's important for our kids to recognize like who you've got in your life matters as well, and keep showing up as authentically you. And if people don't like it, those aren't your people.
And it turns out, in fact, that not only are you doing everything wrong, but also everything is your fault. Welcome to the Living Richly podcast. Today we're talking about from shame to power and women owning all of their emotions. We're super excited for this one. This is the latest podcast in this series that Wendy and I do called Real Women, Real Talk. So thanks for joining us today.
Let's be real. You didn't start your business to feel this stressed, this stuck, and this alone. At Rhapsody, we help business owners just like you get their shit together. That means building high-performance teams, fixing time and money leaks, and finally stepping into the kind of leadership that doesn't leave you burnt out. You don't need another guru. What you need is a coach who gets it and gets results. Go to rhapsodystrategies.com and let's get started.
I think we'll get some real talk out of this one.
I always love our episodes.
Yes, they are great. They are great.
Today it's a big one. So we're really talking about how women stereotypically, when we feel an emotion, whether we're sad, happy, mad, assertive, I'll put that one out there, that we have this tendency to apologize for feeling, which when you think about it at its core is maybe such like a pretty ridiculous statement, but it's true. We so often will, oh, sorry, I was crying, or sorry about this. Right. So let's dive in. Why do you think women apologize? Like, why do you think we're saying sorry?
Yeah. So much of it, I think, comes from that social conditioning and that upbringing, and it almost becomes ingrained in who we are. And for a lot of us, we grow up being sometimes told, but sometimes we put that expectations on ourselves that we're just too much. And that could be a whole wide variety of emotions, whether it's, you know, to your point, like anger, you know, if we're crying, we're too dramatic. If we're quiet, we're not sharing our feelings.
Yep.
And so I think a lot of it is just, you know, years and years and years of that social conditioning.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think we just, like, women are supposed to sit right in the middle. We can't be too high. We can't be too low. We have to sort of play to the norm that society's put out. And until women challenge that, and until we change that, that is something that a lot of women feel pressure on showing up just so.
It's like a reflex.
It
like
is.
Automatically, and I catch myself like automatically, even before somebody has finished their sentence, we're already thinking about saying, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're just like, you innately feel bad.
Yes.
We talk about this is from shame to power, but there's shame there somewhere deep down as you feel bad, embarrassed, whatever that is, about showing emotion externally.
Yep.
You think about it's so crazy, that we experience that when we and it's not just women, but women do tend towards the apologizing part.
Yes. And it's almost when you get to, like, I know for me right now, being in my late 40s, you're even more aware of it, because then as parents, like we have teenagers, you're even more conscious of, like, I see my girls doing this a lot too. Just always starting off by saying, oh, I'm sorry. The other day, my daughter's like, oh, sorry, Mom, I didn't text you back right away. I was in class. I'm like, you never have to apologize for that.
It's so, Eric and I often say, just because I'm super mindful of my sorries, but he's like, sorry's for when you did something wrong.
Yeah.
And we, it's so funny. I was in my office working and I could hear Eric talking to my daughter who must have done something or wiped the counter weird or something. And she said, oh, sorry. And I could hear Eric in the kitchen. He's like, you don't have to apologize for that. I was like, yes.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah, I love it.
I'm like, that's a win.
Yep.
So it shows up for us.
Yeah.
When's the last time you kind of saw yourself maybe like shrinking back or doing exactly what we just talked about, apologizing for feeling or showing emotion?
Yeah, I think I still being on the journey of being unapologetic, I still struggle with this, not just in my professional life, but in my personal life. So as a divorced mom, I find I shrink back and either apologize for if I are, if my girls are like, hey, like we're going to come over this weekend. I find I'm already apologizing if I already have plans. I'm already apologizing, to not be seen as like the strict parent. So
get that.
Yeah. And it makes me like, it makes me angry. It makes me really upset with myself that I feel like I'm shrinking back because it's something that I'm working hard to struggle with, or it's
to not struggle
Thank
with.
you.
Yeah, I get it.
Sorry, I messed that up.
There it is.
But I would say it shows up a lot in that for me, like just shrinking back and just feeling like I almost need to overcompensate in some ways and apologizing for not.
Yeah, it's funny. Eh? Like we did a whole episode on like apologizing and saying I'm sorry and what that looks like.
Yeah.
I know for me, it's like it shows up all the time, and it's more about like showing emotion. I was raised as just not okay, good, bad, whatever, just being quiet and like that was the role. And so for me, when I feel the emotion coming up, instead of being able to release it in front of whoever's around at the time, I feel the need to flight. I am out the door. I'm like, see, I'm very uncomfortable in this moment, and I go, and then I can take. Sometimes it's 10 minutes, sometimes it's 5. I just need a minute to like gather myself and come back. And what I'd love to be able to do is not take. There are times you need a minute because you're heated, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like I'm overwhelmed with love. Yeah. It's too much. I need to leave the room, compose myself, and then come back in. I would love to stop going in the other room. Like I would love to be able to have that moment in front of my people. Yeah. That's like my ultimate goal. Yeah. I'm still in the bathroom.
But I also love that you do that though, because I think sometimes we feel like there's a rush where we always have to respond. We always have to react. So I kind of love that you do take a step back, because I don't do a great job of that. And then all of a sudden my feelings and my emotions are all blah, and they all come out. Then I'm mad at myself because I didn't take that time.
Interesting.
So I love that you shared that.
Yeah. I think for me it's situational. So if I'm like angry, I don't want to say something I'm going to regret, because I feel like in the heat of the moment, a lot of things come out they come out sideways, right? Just because we're in it. Yeah. For me, it's often, it's more it's the joy side. I know that sounds crazy, but when like things are good, or I get emotional, I'm crying because it's my daughter just turned 15, which I can't believe. She's my youngest. I know. See, that's an emotion. So but those are the emotions that I will claw back. So it's not always like the sad. Sometimes it's just that joy that we also hold back.
Yes.
Okay. So why do you think women feel that pressure versus men? Specifically,
I think there's a myth around women are always the ones that are too emotional, right? That's what you kind of said earlier. And I feel like the truth is we're often the ones that just get shamed for showing it. And sometimes that shame for showing it doesn't necessarily come out in a bad way. That could be how we're taking it as well. Not that we take anything personal ever, but sometimes the I guess that the feeling could be women are too emotional, but men are rational. Well, but you can be rational and emotional at the same time.
Yeah. And men feel emotions. They're also taught to squash all of them. So it's right. In
and
a
the
different
labeling,
way.
Exactly. And the labeling of being dramatic.
Yeah.
If we are sharing those emotions and those feelings.
It's interesting because like men are allowed to have a loud voice, and they're allowed to be the loud voice in the room, in front of the room, and that's acceptable. But women does that. They're tended to seem, they're aggressive. They're not assertive. Yeah. But if a man has an emotion and is crying, like our society kind of shits all over that, where you're like, well, you're weak. You're not like, and so it is interesting that sort of that difference. Yeah. I want to read something. So Barbie, the movie, which is not a movie I honestly wanted to see, and then I saw
Me neither.
I didn't like Barbie, sorry. I didn't know. I just apologized for not liking Barbie. Just call that out. I'm not sorry. I didn't like Barbies. I didn't relate to Barbies as a kid. I had Legos and like toy soldiers. That was like my playground. But I finally saw the movie. And today, for those of you watching, you can see I'm actually in bright Barbie pink today.
And your nails are pink
and I have
too.
pink. So I am just all about Barbie today. But that movie, when I saw it, they did such a great job just kind of flipping the script on women empowerment. And so I want to read from that. There's a monologue that America Ferrera does, and I'm not going to do her character justice because she reads it so beautifully. I teared up watching it. It was so strong. And I think it's just so many women relate to this feeling of like you have to be a specific way or live a specific way according to society, right? And what we're supposed to live up to. So I'm going to read it. So bear with me. You have to be thin, but not too thin. And you can never say you want to be thin. You have to say you want to be healthy, but also you have to be thin. You have to have money, but you can't ask for money because that's crass. You have to be a boss, but you can't be mean. You have to lead, but you can't squash other people's ideas. You're supposed to love being a mother, but don't talk about your kids all of the damn time. You have to be a career woman, but always be looking out for other people. You have to answer for men's bad behavior, which is insane. But if you point that out, you're accused of complaining. You're supposed to stay pretty for men, but not so pretty that you tempt them too much or that you threaten other women because you're supposed to be part of the sisterhood. But always stand out and always be grateful, but never forget that the system is rigged. So find a way to acknowledge that, but also always be grateful. You have to never get old, never be rude, never show off, never be selfish, never fall down, never fail, never show fear, never get out of line. It's too hard. It's too contradictory, and nobody gives you a medal or says thank you. And it turns out, in fact, that not only are you doing everything wrong, but also everything is your fault.
Oh, so powerful.
It's so powerful. And I think it really sums up everything we're talking about today. It's this like pressure of like the thin and healthy thing and leading with that because women
do this, but do it in this way.
Yeah.
And then don't do it this way because then you're this.
Right.
Yeah.
But have a voice, but not too loud.
Right.
I love like be a mom, but don't talk about your kids. Like it's just like that dichotomy. And I think it sums up the pressure that women feel all the time for this false, like you're never going to get it all right. Like nobody's going to get it all right.
And especially in a professional setting, the amount of women that I hear that shrink back or hide in the shadows because they feel like whatever voice they're using, either it's not being taken seriously or great that you shared your opinions, but not those opinions, right? So it's, I saw it all the time in my HR career.
And women hold back because of that fear of being judged, of having a strong voice or being misunderstood. It's that people pleasing, wanting to stay in that middle ground.
Yes. Yeah.
So for you, how has, maybe we'll talk some personal examples, like really crept into your life?
So like aside from being conditioned to apologize for sometimes just existing, I think that, I've caught myself, I'm trying to think of a personal example. But I've caught myself so many times, tearing up in a meeting, snapping when I'm stressed, even laughing too much, and kind of hiding that in the shadows as an automatic apology for just being fully me.
Yeah.
It's not a specific example, but it's interesting how when you become more conscious and aware of it, it starts to show up more where you're like, oh my God, I said it again.
It's when, I know for me, it's when like something matters most to me. So it's like, if I don't know, I'll just keep using my daughter's birthday because it just happened. I'm emotional. She turned 15. Like, it's a big deal. I'm not like crying in a corner, but I'm emotional about her turning 15.
Yeah.
And that to me is like, if I have an emotion about it, I have my whole set, like, so you're being ridiculous, like blah, blah, blah. I can hear the little voice in my head being like, she just turned 15. Like I can hear it.
Yeah.
And I know that's just like, I'm doing this for the reviewers can't see us. I'm I'm like Pac-Man. I don't know what's happening with my hand, but I can hear it. And it's just because it's years of like all the voices from society to bosses to parents to teachers that you've heard over the years talking in your ear, telling you to swallow it down and don't show that emotion and don't show that in truth, the vulnerability that's behind the emotion.
Just hearing you talk about your daughter reminds me of my youngest daughter when she just finished her last year of minor league hockey in April, and the emotion around that from when she was like yay high, like, you know, she was on skates practically before she could walk, but that I'm like getting all emotional just thinking about it, but seeing her come off the ice for the last time and like being like on for her last shift. But what I loved most about it, and I actually just pulled up this picture yesterday actually, and showed her, is the emotion that she had coming off the ice for her and the other 5 girls that were the seniors on, like, it was their last game in minor hockey. And I have the most incredible picture of me hugging her and the emotion on her face, like she is full on crying, and she's not an emotional kid. And just to your point, like just the years and years, and now here she is. But I was so proud of her showing that emotion. And there was just, we were in the hallway, the whole team was around. There was just like silence, and just, it was such a beautiful moment. I showed her the picture there. She's like, Mom, don't show me that picture. But I was so proud of her for showing that emotion. And she held on to me so tight. I was just like,
Well, I love that. I mean, it's a moment, right? And it's a moment that you'll never get again. It's not going to repeat itself. It is like a graduation. It is that moment. And those moments matter. We're being very vulnerable on the show today.
Jeez, my eyes are all blurry now. But I'm also old and I can't see.
There's the combination is just crying all the time. I can't see. I know too with and I think it's good we're talking about like parenting, because like what are we passing on to our kids differently? And I know for me, like one thing I love in my house is like, it's more so with my daughter. My boys are we just have different conversations. My daughter and I tend to have a more fiery relationship. There's more hormones involved for both of us. And so, but what I love is that we show how we feel. And there are days where I'm like, I'm exhausted. I walked into her room yesterday and I knocked on the door and I'm like, are you okay? And she's like, I need some alone time. And I was like, okay, you need some alone time. I fully respect that. I'm like, okay.
I love that she communicated that to you.
And it came out and I could see she was just like over, and I'm like, hey, take your time. Like I do it all the time, but I love that we can do that. And I love that we can communicate that, like, I don't like how you're showing up right now. And I don't like this attitude. It's not working for me. And we can have direct conversations and then go in afterwards and be like, okay, like, I didn't love that. And she'll be like, I didn't like you. Like, what? You're really cranky today. And I'm like, you're right. I am cranky. Like, I'm sorry. And then we have those conversations. So I think it's so important to allow your kids to show emotion. And I do it similarly with my boys. They just show up differently. Those moments of emotional connection that I get with them are different than the ones I have with my daughter.
It's interesting how you allow yourself to show up in different ways for each of your kids that has different, not just different needs, but just in ways that you know you can still support all of your kids, but you respect where they are and where they are in their stage of life and what they respond best to. I think sometimes as parents, we think we need to, like, the whole, like, treat your kids fairly, equal. Yes, but, you know, I think there's ways that we can show up differently for our kids depending on what their needs are.
I heard the best thing the other day on a podcast. It's a bit of a digress, but it was someone was asking, it's like, how can two kids who grow up in the same household turn out so differently? And the response was, how can they turn so differently if they have the same parents? And the response from the psychologist was, they didn't have the same parents. And I was just like, what are you talking about? And then I was like, and it's just the way he said it. I've heard it said before, but you didn't have the same parents because those parents weren't the same people when they were raising the first kid. They might be at a different stage of life. They might have other things going on. They might have different marital, and everyone's experience in a household is unique to them. And so you have to parent your kids uniquely. You have to expect that they're going to have unique challenges along the way.
Yeah, I love that. I never would have thought of that perspective, but it makes perfect sense, especially if there's an age gap with your kids.
Yeah, and also like in a year, think about what happens, and you could have so much stress at work and that stress like it bleeds into your other family members. Like you can't help but have that happen.
100%.
Okay, so this feeling of like I'm too much or I'm not enough for you, where do you think? Let's go back in time. Let's go back to our childhood.
Back to the future.
Well, somewhere in there along the way, we've kind of, as you called it, like we've been programmed.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is that? What for you? What did that look like?
So it's interesting when we were preparing for this, I had to think a lot about this because a lot of times we can tie things back to our childhood, our upbringing. But honestly, I think I cultivated this on my own. Like I sat on this one for a while to really think about it. So I think I've cultivated on my own over time because while my parents were strict, and I will say like how I was brought up and how my brother was brought up was a bit different.
Yeah.
There was a lot more leniency with him, maybe partly because he was a boy and second child. And not that you don't worry as much, but it's different, I think, when you have a daughter in terms of just different things that you... So while they were strict, I can't really pinpoint a time where I could see like, oh, it's tied back to my childhood. I think it's just been how I've programmed myself and conditioned myself over time where I've just become immensely hard on myself. And, you know, my therapist, hi, Sari, she I remember the first time she told me where she says, I don't think in all of my years of professional counseling, I don't think I've met anyone who is as hard on themselves as you are. And I know, and that wasn't to make me feel bad, but that was to be like, I know, and why am I like this?
It's interesting because obviously in preparing for the show, you start reflecting on a lot of stuff. And I know for me, I didn't reflect very long on this one. I'm not gonna lie. I know exactly like where it comes from because I grew up in like a hyper strict like British household. Like you're talking like stiff upper lip. Like there was a lot of discipline. There was a lot of like you knew your spot. You didn't act out of like it was just a very strict household. And so I learned very quickly like if I'm quiet, if I don't show any emotion, then I'm invisible. And if I'm invisible, then I'm not doing something wrong. Right. And so, my parents are amazing, lovely people. It's just that was their upbringing, and and they brought that over to Canada, and that was the way they were raised, and that's how they raised my brother and I. And it's like resulted in a lot of really great positive things, but there's also this other side of it, which is like you learn to squash. And when I say squash, I literally can picture my emotions just like being pushed all the way down, right, through my body, and just learning to internalize that and go deal with that. Like, don't bother anybody else with your emotions. You need to deal with your own shit on your own time. I don't want to
swallow them and just make them disappear.
Swallow. Yeah, which is horrible. Yeah. Which is really, really horrible. So I love that we just talked about how we're kind of changing like a little bit our narrative with our kids and trying to get them to be okay with showing that emotion, breaking that cycle a little bit.
Yes. And holding that proud and helping them recognize that the people in your life who don't support where you're at for whatever emotion you're feeling are not the right people. That maybe should be in your life, right?
So glad you said that.
I'm not saying it the way it's kind of in my, but you know what I mean.
I can read your brain.
Sorry, I'm not saying it right.
I got you. No, but I get
like
it.
Your circle should want to see you not just win, but also be there to support you when you need to, not make you feel shameful or whatever with whatever emotion you're feeling. And if you feel like you're suppressing yourself and I've had friendships in my life, one that I'm thinking right off the top of my head, and I always felt myself shrink back, worried about saying the wrong thing, worried about showing the wrong emotion because it would trigger this person, and then it would come back on me, and then I'd be like, okay, so I can't say this, but I can't show this, can't do that. So I think it's important for our kids to recognize like who you've got in your life matters as well, and keep showing up as authentically you. And if people don't like it, those aren't your people.
I love that. And I think too, like starting to show those, to your point, like the vulnerability around that is to start in a safe place. Start with someone you know you're safe with.
Yeah.
It takes courage to be vulnerable and open up and show emotion, but you have to start. And I think when you start somewhere safe, it makes it easier to then move on and maybe start being more vulnerable in an unsure space.
Yeah.
I know one thing that's worked really well for me is I got really present a couple of years ago how often I say sorry. Like I say sorry in emails. I say, we've talked about this before, but when like a great switch for people when they're like getting ready to apologize for an emotion or how they're feeling is to switch that sorry to thank you. So like instead of saying like you're all in a like sorry I'm late, it can be like, thanks for waiting, right? It's like and what it does like immediately is it shifts the blame off of you somehow, the shame off of you, right?
Yes.
Like, thanks for listening instead of sorry, I'm so emotional.
Yeah.
Like,
thanks for listening. Thanks for not judging. Thanks for your patience. That's one that I use often is, if I'm a couple minutes late, and I hate being late, it drives me nuts. It gives me a rash because I'm always like, no, right? And then because I feel like I have this expectation to like, I don't want to disrespect the person that I'm meeting or whatever. So I or if I'm emotional or I've had kind of one of those like hormonal off days or whatever, I'll use it with Rob often like, thanks for your patience. I haven't been myself lately. Thanks for your patience versus I'm sorry.
Yeah. And it's literally, I don't know, you can feel the difference in your body when you're doing them, all about the feels in the body, as we know. But like you can feel it in your body where you're not like, I used to apologize because I went on vacation. Like I get back and my emails would be like, sorry I didn't get back to you sooner. I was on vacation. And I'm like then feeling guilty that I went on vacation. Like it's amazing how the word itself can just hold so much.
Yes. And it's funny you say emails because I historically have always done this with texts where I feel like, and I've really learned to shift the like, I don't need to respond back to people right away. I don't need to always say sorry for my delay back when it's been an hour since they've texted me. So yeah. I don't know where I was going with that, but I just thought of the text piece as well.
I think you're just echoing what I was saying. Okay, so the world is like a pretty polarized place right now. Yeah. And not maybe sort of the most wonderful news flow in the morning. I don't read the news in the morning anymore because I don't want to start my day that way. Staying informed, there's balance there. How do you think the world would shift if, and this is a really hypothetical question, but if the world saw more women showing up with their emotions truly?
I think it would help women, both personally and professionally, stop shrinking. I think that they would show up as authentically them without feeling the need to justify everything, without, saying what they need to say, doing what they need to do, without thinking of, but then I have to do this or say this after. Letting all of that go and just doing or saying what feels right without always thinking about the rebuttal on what's going to come next.
1,000%. I think women, to sum that up, would feel lighter.
Yeah.
I don't think we'd feel so heavy. I don't think we'd be so worried about what everyone thinks all of the time. Not all the time, a lot of the time. I think it would allow women also to connect to other women more. Women naturally are more of that community builder type. But I do think there's also a lot of jealousy amongst women and competition amongst women. And so really allowing that true authenticity, I think, would just allow everyone to not feel so much pressure to show up perfectly. Emotionally, mentally, and physically. We feel those physical feels in our body from like the tension or stress in our neck. Oh my God. The anxiety feeling in the belly, all of those things where we feel like it's there. So the feeling of being light and letting that go. But like a muscle, right? We speak to this like it's just like a switch, but it's like a muscle, right? It's you got to practice it over time for it to start to be ingrained in your habits. And it's just start getting aware. Yes. Is probably like where I would start. Okay, let's talk about a big emotion for women, which I think is anger. And I don't think we talk about it enough because women get angry too. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Ask Rob. I never
often
get
called
angry.
irrational, often called bitchy, dramatic, but it's anger. So for you, like, how is what's your relationship with anger? Has it changed over time? Like, what does it look like for you?
Yeah. So I've started to use anger as more like a compass, being less reactional and more proactive in terms of what is the feeling that I'm feeling and what am I getting from this and where is it guiding me to? For me, a lot of it has to tie into my boundaries. I do feel like if I haven't set my boundaries or communicated my boundaries, that anger shows up. Not anger at the person, anger at myself and then comes the script of, for fuck's sakes, like, you know, why can't you just use your big girl words? Why couldn't you have just communicated? And then the anger from not protecting my boundaries then spills into all of the things I've done wrong. Does that resonate?
No.
Hello, anybody out there? Does that resonate?
I feel like everyone was just like, I've been there.
Right. Yeah. And my body, especially my body language and my moods. Like, I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm very good at putting masks on, especially I have a nice collection, depending on how I'm feeling for the day, where I will mask, where it's got like the outward smiles, but the inward screams. And because I'm client facing in what I do, that mask has to be on, but I can feel it. It's the emotion and it's the physical feeling that I feel when I'm angry.
Yeah. I relate to all of that. I think for me, anger when I was young, I didn't know what to do with it. And learning through therapy is like, anger is not actually an emotion. It's an expression of another.
Yes.
You're feeling something. You're sad, you're mad, you're insecure. You can be all these things, but anger is how it manifests. And so I know for me, anger would just, like, as a kid, you could find, like, there's so many spots in the body for anger to hide, but over time, like, it has to come out. And it needs to come out ideally in a healthy way, not in an unhealthy way. And I think when I was younger, it would just come out in verbal diarrhea and not in the best way. And I think now I'm similar to you. Like, anger is information for me now. Anger is a signal of, like, when I take a step back, I can get, like, in a heated moment, get really angry. But now what happens is, instead of, like, the verbal diarrhea, now what happens is I pause and I'm like, you're angry. What is this about? Ask those questions. Like, what are you angry about? Like, why has this got you so riled up? And then really start to uncover and peel back the layers of the onion and figure out what's going on. And then get to a place of, like, oh, it's about this. Okay. This I know, this is familiar, this I can deal with. And it just helps almost, like, give the anger something to anchor itself in. And, like, okay, I'm not going to sit here and, like, pretend that every time I get angry, like, that's what I do. I don't. I don't. But when I'm really, like, in it, I will. Like, it's a conscious effort. When someone cuts me off in traffic, I'm yelling. Like, I am that person behind the car. I'm not going to get it perfect. But what's important is that you start practicing these tools and start using and as much as you can. Emotion is normal. Feeling anger is normal.
Yeah. Well, and I love that you mentioned that anger is, however you worded it, but it's basically a byproduct of, you know, and I think, you know, we've heard people all the time, oh, they have anger management issues or they have anger issues. And it's, you know, I love that, you know, peel back the onion to really recognize what is it, because that is a byproduct of something else. And it's taking a step back to peel that back and really identify but it takes work. And
it takes work.
It's really hard to do it on your own.
Thank you. I think
it's really hard to do it on your own. I think you need,
well, for me, it's my therapist who will help point stuff out, or it's good friends, or it's Eric, like my person. Like, but you need people to help.
Oh, I was your person.
I'm so sorry. My other person.
I'm really angry now.
No. Maybe you should identify what that true emotion is under the anger, Wendy. Okay, we talked about a few myths, but there's lots of myths out there. So what are some other myths around, like, anger, joy, whatever that you think are floating out there?
Yeah, so I've heard this one before. I'm very type A. I have a strong personality. Well, so it's interesting. A lot of people think that I'm extroverted, but I'm a situational extrovert. So I get that. Right, where I'm client facing, so I'm extroverted in that capacity, but then I'm very introverted. But I do have a lot of fire and a lot of energy. So I feel like sometimes the world is kind of like what you were talking about in the Barbie monologue. The world is fine with the quiet, the good girl women that just, don't sit back. But the world is absolutely terrified of women who are like firecrackers, or who express a lot because I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's because people don't know how to handle them. People feel threatened.
Yeah.
I don't know. And especially women versus women. 100%. There's a lot of judging around that.
Yeah.
And I am one of those, because I'll often hear like, who does she think she is? Like, who, because I am very vocal in a respectful way, but I do have that fire, and that could sometimes be seen as, what the fuck? Like, so I don't think the world knows what to do with that.
I think you're right. I don't think the world has any idea what to do with it. I remember I used to say in business when I was younger, I was just like an overachiever. So I'd be in boardrooms with men in suits, and I'm in my 30s.
Yep.
Pretending I have my life together. Right? Like,
I can relate to that.
Super exterior mattered so much, perfect life at home, the whole bit. But I'd walk in, and I remember men just like, they didn't know what to do with like a beautiful, smart woman. You could be beautiful or you could be smart, but if you're two things. So it's similar, and having that loud voice in a room for men is like destabilized. It was back then. I'm going back a ways, but and I know we're shifting and we're moving. Yeah. But I agree with you. I think any extreme sort of showing of emotion that doesn't fit in that bubble, I think, is what makes people uncomfortable. Yeah. The loud person at the game, the woman crying in the corner, I don't know what it could be. Someone's yelling over here. Like, all of those things, when women do it, we get far more uncomfortable. And maybe it's just because it is unfamiliar, and maybe because we don't see it enough. I think we see it behind closed doors. Yes. I definitely see it with my girlfriends. I see it with my kids. But you don't see it publicly. What we see publicly is the highlight reel in the social media. Life is perfect.
Right. Everything that we want to see.
Everything. Okay. So how can women, I'm going to go to the joy part. Like, how can we harness more joy, more happiness without feeling like almost guilty, right? Like almost feeling like I shouldn't be this happy, because if I'm this happy and Sarah's not, I'm going to make Sarah feel bad.
Yep. Yeah. So for me, a big reminder is to use my voice. I have fallen into the trap, and I still do, where don't assume that they know. Don't assume that, just because you're not saying anything, that they're going to know what you're thinking, feeling. Don't wait for people to show up and do the things for you. So I think a lot of it comes down to just that personal self-responsibility, self-reflection, stop playing the victim card, and really focus on the small stuff. Buy the flowers, buy the thing that you want. Do the thing that maybe nobody else wants to do. Wear the risque dress. Do it up. Bring at some stages in our life, you have to bring your own sunshine, instead of always waiting for other people to do it for you.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
It's wonderful when people do it for us.
But you have to do it for you. Like I ultimately believe, and I think you can start like super small, like
buy a mug on Marketplace.
Oh my God, look at this mug. For those of us watching.
$5 on Marketplace. Rob was thrilled that the mug collection is overspilling into 6 cupboards.
He told me.
I said, I'm bringing my own sunshine.
But that's it. So bring your own sunshine. Go buy a mug. No, but seriously, find something small that brightens your day and do it for you. And it doesn't have to be something you share with anyone else. Just start feeling the joy, because when you really feel it and you share that authentically, people will resonate with it. Your joy is contagious, right? It is.
And gives other people permission to show up.
Yes. And if your joy is too much for someone else, oh well. And in time, when you practice the joy for yourself, if you have a big moment of joy in a group or in a setting and someone's off-put, you won't be off-put anymore because you're just truly, really happy.
Oh, I love this. If you're not watching right now, like, I have a smile plastered on my face just because this kind of conversation just makes me feel happy. Yes. It makes me feel joy, honestly.
Yay.
Yeah. Yay.
We also haven't been in the studio for a bit, and I think we're just like,
yay.
Look at us.
Look at us.
Oh, I'm going to show emotion. I love you, Wendy.
I love you too.
Okay. Great.
Steve, we love you too.
Yay! It's like the best segue to the next question,
Totally
which
is.
is all about how does owning your emotions show up in relationships?
So I guess I'll keep this one short. I think in my 40 plus years, it has shown me that owning my emotions doesn't push people away. It actually brings the right people in closer.
Yeah, I just want to say ditto. I haven't said it in a while.
Great. Next question.
No, but because what it does is it creates the authenticity in the relationship.
Yep.
But to your point, when you talked about having the right people in your circle, I think it's really important because you can show those emotions and they're not going to get met. Yep. I was talking to Sherry about this the other day, and she was like, you can show up the way you want to show up and you can put up your boundary. It doesn't mean the other person is going to show up the way you want them to just because you say something. Yes. So it's finding the right people around you that you can have those open, honest conversations and be brave. Yep. Be brave and show up imperfectly. Be brave and have the hard conversations, because I can tell you what comes out of that is so much deeper and so much more fulfilling than the superficial, resentment-filled life.
Yes. And if you're consistent with practicing that, it helps weed out the people that can't handle you showing up, because that means that they usually aren't the ones that you needed in your life anyways.
No, and expecting, it's one of my favorite things that Sherry does, but like people show up, in this grid from a 1 to a 10, and some people in your life are 10s. They show up all the time. They're great. Some people show up like
I love
a 2.
the 1 to 10 exercise.
So the 1 to 10 is great. I use it all the time. And if someone in your life traditionally has shown up as a 4, but you have a relationship and it doesn't need to be a 10, don't expect a 10 from a 4. It's like you're expecting somebody to show up in a way that's not authentic to them. And that just causes you stress at the end of the day. So let them be a 4 in your life. They might be a 10 to someone else.
Right.
But in your world, they're a 4.
Yep. And that frustration that we often feel is misplaced expectations. It's one of my favorite quotes, and it's so true. So it exactly ties into what you said. I think you're a 10, though.
I think you're a 10. Look at us. You can tell we've been apart. Because we've spent all this time together. It would be a very different conversation. Okay, if you could go back in time and talk to your younger self, what's one piece of advice you think you would have liked someone had given to you, or you would have given to yourself?
Yeah, the world will always try to tell you to tone it down. But every time you own your feelings and you show up as authentically you without feeling, oh, I feel this, but I should show up this way. Every time you start to not tone it down, you are building more power. Shrinking yourself to make somebody comfortable is one of the worst things that we can do. And I've been fortunate enough.
Wow. Big words today on the podcast.
To have this conversation with my daughters and my stepdaughters around not shrinking yourself. I won't get into specific conversations we've had, but really around when it comes to the people in your life, what you're doing or choosing to do in your professional life, and not dimming your light. Because dimming your light because it's too bright for someone else is sometimes just a conversation of, put your fucking sunglasses on because I'm going to keep shining. And empowering our kids to really live that and own that.
Yeah, I love that. I think for me, it's that I was taught that any emotion is bad. So I wish I could have come back and someone could have just coddled the little girl in me and say it's okay to feel the emotions. Maybe in that environment, I think what came with not showing emotion was also a sense of I shouldn't feel emotion.
Right.
And so when you have both of those, that's difficult. So don't feel it, don't show it. And so I wish someone had said to me that it's okay to feel it, and it's okay additionally to show it. You don't have to have it all together all of the time. Nobody does.
Yeah.
And I think the more you can show up as a human and as someone who's doing the best they can and is a good person at the end of the day, that's what it's about.
And I think that's why I love these Real Women, Real Talk, because I know there are like the messages that we get from women that have started like going for walks every day. And this is like their time to listen to these types of episodes where it gives them permission to not silently suffer or silently kind of deal with what they're supposed to deal with, but allows them to, you know, not shrink back, allows them to hear other people who, you know, people look at us sometimes and think, oh, they've got it all figured out. But they do. Like the message like, oh, like you've got this and you're doing this. You're both business owners. You've got, we don't have fuck all figured out.
No,
but we're just, we're just showing up as best as we can. And I think that gives other people permission to be like, I'm going to show up just like me. They see other people doing it. And I just feel like it just resonates so much with people.
Yeah, I love that you said that. And I like to anyone listening, you're not alone. And you can reach out to us at any point and have a conversation. And I can tell you how not altogether I have it, because I don't. And there are days where I feel like a friggin' rock star. And there are days where I feel like I'm failing at life across the board.
Yep.
And I think that's the human experience is some days are fantastic and some days are really, really, really shitty and some days are really, really, really dark. And it's just, that's life and it's how you get through it. I think we use a lot of humor on this show that does help, but we also have really, I think, deep, authentic, real conversations.
Yeah.
And the more you can talk things out in a safe environment with a great community, I think that's what Living Richly really is.
And that's what the Living Richly Nation, the Facebook group, is all about. Like
100%.
So many people, and it's just so heartwarming, and just, I'm so proud of people that share their stories in there because they feel like it's a safe place.
Because we've curated that safe space.
Yeah, and we've cultivated it.
Yeah, and what I will say is there is in the Facebook Nation private group, there is a zero tolerance policy for anyone who doesn't adhere to the policies that we put in place, which is a safe, nurturing community where people show up authentically and share, but that's respected in that group.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay. I think I'm going to close us there. I feel like this was such a
great conversation.
Great conversation. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. If you enjoyed what you heard, please like, share, subscribe. And if you haven't already, visit livingrichlly.me, our website, and you can join our Facebook Nation group. And if you're ready to lead boldly in business, Rhapsody Strategies is there to back you up. So until next time, get out there and continue living your best life.